This video is sponsored by Instant Gaming. Get cheap game time as well as other Warcraft products at affordable prices. Click the link in the description below to check it out. Hello guys, this is Orange Movies, and today I'll be talking about the Zandalari Empire and how powerful it is, covering their history, characteristics, and the recent events. So without further ado, let's get into the lore. Long ago, a group of native trolls gathered around a mountain range inhabited by many wild gods, building countless encampments upon the slopes, naming it Zandalar. Over time, this would grow and camps would turn into cities, and with the first king, Dazar, eventually building a city of gold. Originally, the heart of the civilization was Nazmir with the town of Zul-Nazman, but with the discovery of Gahun, they would move south, ultimately establishing the bustling temple city of Zuldazar. The most powerful group of trolls were known as the Zandalari tribe, and they were the ruling class. They focused on knowledge and conquest, while the ones beneath them would eventually evolve into their own people. Even though they split into forest and jungle trolls, the Zandalari welcomed their departure, seeing them as but children. They were admired by all other trolls, but they never really wielded authority over other tribes, at least formally. Some 16,000 years ago, in Zandalar Mountains, a group of rebellious trolls examined a forbidden area, seeing these dark rocks. This actually turned out to be a gigantic Atraxi general that would subsequently awaken from deep slumber and bring on the Troll-Akir War. This was a turning point in troll history, and the Zandalari took command of the united armies. In order to establish control over the continent, the Zandalari convinced other trolls to build strongholds over the corners of the continent, which led to the creation of the Amani, Gurubashi, and Drakari. After centuries of brutal fighting and countless sacrifice, the trolls finally shattered the Akir Empire. Now, without a war to bind them together, the troll factions once again split and turned into their own respective empires. The Zandalari withdrew to the mountains to pursue spiritual knowledge, but they would still maintain massive influence over other troll societies. Eventually, the Zandalari would forge an alliance with the Mogu, as at the time they were essentially controlling the entire continent. However, much would change with the rise of the Night Elves from a small group of trolls. With their magic powers from the Well of Eternity, the Kaldrai would far surpass the seemingly primitive trolls. Wars and skirmishes broke out over territory between the Night Elves and the trolls, and the trolls would fail significantly. Queen Ashara granted them humiliating peace, allowing them to keep the sacred mountain range, but this would lead to hatred between the two races that lasts to this day. 10,000 years ago, with the Burning Legion invasion, the Sundering shattered the entire world, but the wise Zandalari priests wove magic powerful enough to protect their entire realm. Their territory was almost intact, but soon they would realize that they were now stranded on an island, isolated from the entirety of the world. Seeing no reason to leave and establish a new empire, they would expand as much as they could and learn how to master the seas. For years, there would be prosperity, civil wars, strife, but nonetheless, the Zandalari still maintained influence over other trolls and were a significant force. Some 2,800 years ago, the Zandalari helped the trolls battle the High Elves and the humans, and even though initially they were very successful, ultimately they would fail. Then they would help the Gurubashi fight against Akar. This threat would then rise once again quite recently, so the Zandalari once again sent a significant force. For many millennia, they tried to establish world domination over and over again, but they failed at every possible attempt, as seen with the Strangleton Vale campaign and the one in Pandaria where they had revived Lei Shen. These endeavors cost the Empire greatly, but for the first time in Battle for Azeroth, we see their actual empire. The Horde arrives to Zandalar, and by helping them in the Civil War and with the threat of Gahun, they join the Horde. So, with all this very long and rich history, how powerful is the Zandalari Empire exactly? Many millennia ago, they essentially ruled the entire world of Azeroth, and together with other trolls were the strongest force on the planet. They defeated the very powerful old god servants, but ultimately their power would wither. Much of the Zandalari leadership and the army was destroyed when they failed to take Uldum with Lei Shen, and from that point forward, they would mostly just become less and less powerful. After their defeats against the Night Elves, they were essentially confined to their mountain range, and after the Sundering, they would essentially become an island force. While being on an island helped them avoid any wars, this definitely limited their chances to expand further and to gather more resources. With the civil wars and the most recent attempts, they were even further weakened. The campaigns in Eastern Kingdoms and Pandaria seriously depleted their strength, and with the cataclysm affecting the island, they were weakened even further. However, as we have seen now in Zandalar, they do still seem to possess serious power both in spiritual and military strength. Due to the fact that they're an island nation, they have one of the most powerful navies on Azeroth, if not the most powerful one currently, which is exactly why the Horde wanted them. As we have seen, they essentially one-shot the Alliance force, and they possess a massive amount of ships, even with so many losses in the recent campaigns. Currently, they are extremely weakened by the Blood Trolls and the Gahun threat and everything else happening, but they will no doubt be a significant part of the Horde. Looking at their entire history, the Zandalari fell so many times and had countless setbacks, and even now they're in a dire situation, but as always, they persevere. At the moment, they're only at a fraction of their peak power, but they're still very powerful with their navy, experience, magic, and the Loa. Alright, and that is all I have for this video. Do leave your thoughts below on what you would like to see next, and do subscribe and like the video, as it really helps out and keeps all the content going. Thanks a lot for taking time out of the day to watch this video, and see you next time.